Hello and welcome to episode 8 of our Delta Green campaign, Operation Bone Box. We're playing the Iconoclasts campaign set in Mosul in 2016. I'm Andy, I'm the handler. Let me start by introducing to my players. Let's just go around the screen. So, Chris. You're mute, Chris.
Oh,
Good. I'm Chris. I'm playing Agent Khar.
Nick.
I'm Nick. I'm playing Agent Pink, our combat medic.
Marc.
Hi, I'm Marc. I'm playing Agent Sandman, Green Beret.
B.
Hi, I'm B. I'm playing Agent Hawk, ICE Federal Agent.
Bruce.
Hi, I'm Bruce. I'm playing Agent Indiana Jones.
And Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom. I'm playing Agent Farmer, a O&I officer.
Okay, so where we left it last session was you got this report about the reappearance of a man you have on the video, matched by facial recognition. This man, Gorkan Kidar is his real name, but he's using the name Harkan McGee, and is claiming to be an Australian citizen of, I think it's Turkish and Scottish parentage, and he has been. There's a report of him being in a Kurdish Peshmerga controlled camp near a town called Accra, which is sort of northeast, roughly, of Mosul. Identification is still going on, but facial recognition software has matched him to the face that has been checked of the supposed Harkan McGee to the faces you've grabbed from the found video of the assault. A conversation started about how you could potentially retrieve him, and a whole conversation. So there was a discussion broke out about potentially using allies in Kurdish intelligence, which is I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do that, which is Asayish, I think so it's pronounced. Sorry, let me move. That's not gonna. That's slightly annoying.
I do think at least a couple of us should be actively involved in the snatch, even if we do ask for outside assistance. Sorry to interrupt.
That's right. That's right.
I very much think that, in actual fact, I think, frankly, we could drop everything and do it now. We know that there are rivals operating in the air with apparently interest in the same things that we're doing. I think speed is of the essence. If we're going to contact some allies for assistance, we should do so immediately, and we should start moving ourselves in the right direction as soon as possible. I don't know if anyone agrees, but
I can definitely get on board with that. Yeah, we definitely want to pick this guy up, especially now that we know we've got competitors who are also looking for intel.
I mean, he's completely central to the investigation that we're involved in.
And we've established that the compound is currently very safe, so we need to get him, grab him, get him to our compound so that the Russians can't snag him up for themselves.
Well, they've got a harder job anyway.
Right. So, so this report was received at 9:24 in the morning. So it's the morning of the 7th of April, 9:24 in the morning. Is when you receive the report. So it's probably getting off 10 o'clock after you've sort of finished discussing it and so on, right? How do you want to approach this? How do you want to go and grab him?
Well, I was actually thinking if we provide it, all we'd actually have to do is provide evidence that he's actually a fighter for ISIL, because we can pick him up and say he's an ISIL fighter, not a refugee, and we need him for intel.
Well,
and
he's in the camp because they suspect he is an ISIL fighter. It's lots.
okay,
The camp
yep.
The camp is a Peshmerga camp that
Okay,
has
yeah,
people
yeah.
in it who they suspect of being Daesh fighters.
Okay,
Now,
gotcha.
in terms of legal requirements to go and take him, you're a CIA operation. Simply saying you want him, you might need some sort of paperwork for the Peshmerga forces. But if you've,
I mean, we can judge that up pretty easy, I think.
But also, if you contact this ASAESH organization, then they will they could potentially ease that for you.
I have very little idea about this sort of thing and how this would work. However, my character is an agent that's been operating in the area for years.
Yeah, you would know better than anyone else how to do this.
He's got a good bureaucracy score, so I will outline the plan, but I'm afraid I personally can't. But essentially, I would say it's to go through the appropriate channels to let the Peshmerga authorities know that we are on our way to pick up a suspect. There's a suspect of interest to us. File the relevant flight plans and then get ourselves into a helicopter and get us moving as quickly as possible over there.
So what are you lot going to look like, please? And are all 6 of you going?
I think we probably just need the CIA operator and 2 shooters, just in case.
I think you should take Agent Hawk, as she is more used to collecting people, being an ICE officer.
You'll be more used to being able to handle like a suspect who's been apprehended and be able to get them back to a transport in a like concise and because none of us are law enforcement.
Yeah, but remember, in this where we are in the world, being a female and being sort of the person to take him away potentially might not work.
You're going to Kurdish controlled areas. That's a lot more liberal. There are women fighting in the Peshmerga forces.
Yeah.
So there are a lot.
Right,
so
okay.
you would wear a headscarf. Even if you're posing as a Westerner, you'd wear a headscarf, but that's it. Yeah. No face coverings or anything like that.
Okay.
I'm not going to look myself.
In that case,
it might be handy to have a actual law enforcement specialist case.
Basically, is anyone not going?
Unless there's a need. Unless there's a need, I think I want to continue doing all this research and database bashing.
We should do that as well, but I somehow think this might be important.
I don't know. I mean, it's what this guy knows, so I think.
Yeah, but I
think in terms of
I was going to say what we're doing is to go bring back, and then secure on base here, which is where we've got a little bit more control over things.
Yeah.
So we can all speak to him when he gets back here. Really, it should be a grab and ferry back process. We don't go in lightly armed necessarily, but we do go in to make sure in case there's sort of other combatants there.
Well, there will be Peshmerga troops. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Hawk and Pink and Khar. No, it's not Khar. Who am I missing?
Sandman.
Yeah, Khar's coming
Sandman.
with.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. So Khar, Pink, Hawk, and potentially Sandman as well.
So
and then that should be the maximum.
So
I don't think we want to take 2 vehicles. I think it's quick in and out, as you say.
I think we're going to borrow a helicopter. I think if we can.
You want to get there quickly. It's a request a helicopter time.
Yeah.
Do you? So just to double check. Agent Farmer's not going. Agent Jones, what are you doing?
I'm not going to go either. I think I'll stay behind, and I don't offer anything in terms of the actual extraction. He's going to be delivered fairly safely, so I'll continue working on the tablets and brush up on whichever language I don't have.
Okay.
It just means that our snatch won't happen on camera because the main character won't be there.
Right. So.
What? He's Indiana Jones. This is Indiana Jones, and the winds unknown to Adad.
Right. Okay. So the four of you who are going, what are you looking like, please?
Certainly not like myself. I will use my disguise to let myself convince you like somebody else, and I'll probably just wear military fatigues. So
you're going to dress up in military fatigues and appear as do you want to appear as US Special Forces? Do you want to appear as a CIA
director? Are we going along as CIA?
Or just unmarked dude with no patches or any distinguishing marks on his fatigues?
Yeah, that's what I want to go as.
Okay, that's essentially CIA. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Are all four of you going to look like that?
I
think so.
I was going to go insignia.
If we're going along under the guise of this,
if
we're going along as the guise of this CIA task force, potentially, that even if it does end up coming back, sort of an investigation being done into it, it will end at us being on base as a CSI.
It's a good
CIA task force.
CSI Mosul.
In which case, I should be wearing a suit.
You're going to put a suit on? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably appropriate.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll look like the standard unmarked bodyguard.
And the other three of you are going to be right. What weaponry do you wish to carry?
Sidearm, shoulder holster.
Okay.
Sidearm and automatic.
Yeah.
So, are the other three of you going to carry assault rifles?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like an M4 probably.
Yeah.
Some description.
What would be appropriate?
Probably an M4
what we're trying to do
like
otherwise.
Or an MP5, like a submachine gun.
You could actually just look. Agent Hawk could actually
I'd say
M4 would be absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'd have you look sort of chunky in a bodyguard, and so carry something a bit heavier than a pistol.
Yeah.
If Sandman and Pink are the beefy bodyguards, Hawk and Khar are the talkers.
Yeah.
Then they just need the pistols.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Hawk, you're probably not in military fatigues. You're probably just in sort of shirt,
you've
trousers.
Probably got one of those like it probably doesn't say press, but you've probably got like one of the press issue bulletproof vests that they hand out.
Yeah. You'll probably have Chris. Is Agent Khar wearing a suit with a set of body armor?
Yeah, that makes sense. If there is body armor available.
Yeah, there's low profile plate carriers you can use.
Yeah. Okay.
It's going to ruin the linen.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, he can worry about his suit later. Okay. Right. So Khar and Hawk have just got pistols. The other two have got pistols and assault rifles. Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
Background noise.
Can someone please give me what is the appropriate skill?
Requisitioning stuff.
It will be a land military science roll at +20. In fact, actually, sorry, what has someone got with land military science at +20?
I've got a 40. At +20, I've got a 60.
Sorry,
I've got 80. I've got 80 at +20.
Ditto.
No, you haven't. You've got 70, mate.
70, sorry. Yeah. Apologies. Sorry. I've got 50.
I've got 80.
Yeah. Tom's maths just failed him. Sorry, I had your character sheet open looking.
He's ill.
Right. Okay. So that doesn't require a roll. You go through the appropriate channels. Request a helicopter. Yeah, it is a Chinook.
Just
And
go and say, I want that one.
Yeah. Now, can someone please give me? What else? Actually, we'll sort that out when Chris comes out. I need a. Actually, does it require it? Hang on a sec. What's his human score? 73. Right. No, it doesn't require it. Agent Khar sorts out briefing the Peshmerga forces. In fact, does he speak? He speaks Kurdish fluently. Sorry, Chris. Agent Khar sorts out. Hello, Chris. Agent Khar sorts out briefing the Peshmerga forces that you're coming and what you want to do, and you also arrange a vehicle to meet you at the nearest airport and escort and drive you to the camp. Okay.
Okay.
So a vehicle with driver will be provided. Okay. Or do you want a vehicle with no driver?
Driver's fine.
Driver's fine. Okay. Right. Okay. So you take off and start flying, and it's not a very long flight, but it goes a slightly roundabout route just to make sure it's avoiding anything dangerous. Okay. Back in the base. Agent Jones, I'm assuming you're continuing to study the winds unknown to Adad. Bruce?
Sorry?
Bruce, I'm assuming you're continuing to study the winds unknown to Adad.
Yes. Although I think even my patience as a past researcher is beginning to wear thin, continuing to study these tablets for an extended period of time. But
okay, well, you've got two options because I believe you found that it does have this ritual elder sign in it.
The elder sign is maybe something that I don't want to be researching on my own necessarily.
What's going to happen?
You're the only person who can research it from this source.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure there's somebody here to put a bullet in my head if I go slightly strange.
Well, that's Agent Farmer's job.
Get away. I'm here to help.
Okay. You start studying. What do you want to do? Do you want to carry on researching the tablets to find out what else is in there, or do you want to focus on starting to learn the ritual?
There's two things really. Research the tablets to find out what weaknesses, if any, the creature has, and learn the elder sign because we know that is something that potentially has benefit.
Which do you want to focus on today?
Weaknesses, I think.
Okay.
We don't know anything about, the elder sign's not going to help us if we, in the long term.
Well, the part of the thought with the elder sign was trying to seal the amphora.
Yes, but I'm kind of presuming we're going to have to get it inside there somehow before we seal it.
Throw in that cat.
Right. Okay. So you start studying that. We'll come to some dice rolls on that in a minute. And Agent Farmer, I'm trying to remember the research you were doing.
So I wasn't actually doing my research has petered out because I was thinking it goes along the lines like bloodlines on first sons, etc.
Yeah.
Which we basically petered that out completely. What I want to do now is very simply start scouring all the police reports because it's been too quiet for too long.
Yep.
So I want to see if anything else has happened. So obviously it won't be as big as it has been in the past, but I want to start seeing if I can find any more information about other things.
We'll come to that. Okay. You've settled down to start doing that research and so on, and Agent Jones has started to study the tablets again, and they left on the helicopter about half an hour ago. They must probably still be in flight, and Agent Steward pipes up, "Hey guys, come and look at this. I've got some movement on the drone." And the drone is still hovering. You've still got a drone hovering above the base that you trailed that assault team back to in downtown Mosul. Let's just to remind you.
Yeah.
Let me click those. So that is this warehouse here. I'm pinging. Sorry, I'm on the right level.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now,
I circulate rumors about that place. I didn't get around.
No, you didn't get around to it. You and the two Agent Steward shows the two of you footage of a Toyota Hilux, battered white Toyota Hilux, that's just driven out of it. That's a vehicle you've not seen before. Okay, so they've got at least a fourth vehicle here.
But it's been there for a little while.
Sorry, say again?
It's been there a little while. It hasn't come in.
Yeah. It has not been seen previously on any of the footage before. And
the thing is, that type of vehicle is common everywhere, so it'll blend in perfectly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there are there's at least two men inside the cab of the vehicle, one driving, and then the passenger's window is open and you can see someone's arm sticking out sort of nonchalantly out of it, and there are also two men sat on the bed at the back. Okay, and there's a couple of there's a tarpaulin over something, not very bulky, but there's something on the back, and certainly the two men on the back look like Daesh fighters. They are in sort of nondescript military-ish type clothing with chest harnesses, chest rigs, several magazines of ammo, and AKs, AK 47s or AKMs or something like that. And they are sitting. They're keeping an eye around, but they're all looking fairly nonchalant. And this vehicle starts driving off eastwards away from the warehouse. And Steward says to Farmer and Jones, "What do you want me to do? Do you want me to follow it or stay on the building?" We still
I'd say follow it. They're geared up.
Yeah, follow it.
It's
and
unlikely
go back on the way.
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah,
Bruce, follow it and.
Is my sound okay, or is it?
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah. So would you?
Oh yeah, no, just follow the Hilux definitely, but also get a second drone to then hover over the warehouse.
Right. Someone needs to make me a SIGINT roll, and after the problems last time with SIGINT rolls, this is at -20.
Okay, so that's probably going to be me.
I've got 0 in SIGINT, so -20.
I've got 0. So
yeah.
You're not there, Chris.
Oh, so you guys.
only...
I'm just saying.
Yeah, you guys aren't there. Yeah.
At least it's not crit failure.
Nope.
Okay. There's going to be a time delay before I can get one. And sorry, wrong. You start trying to get a secondary drone while Steward starts to follow the vehicle. You're not having any success. All drones are currently occupied. You're not going to get one for a while. You can try again a little while to get one, but the warehouse will be uncovered for that period of time.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it because they'll just get annoyed with us pestering them constantly. This way, we stay with these 4 who are obviously out to go and do some shenanigans, even if it's just some sort of buy or sell. We'll at least find out who they are buying or selling from. So stick with the Hilux.
Okay, so they continue driving eastwards. They actually then hang on a sec. That road is.
I'm just going to back in a second, okay?
Yep, sure.
Because you're tracking the Hilux.
Yep.
I reckon it's gone out to get this guy.
Ooh.
Right.
I think that they've got the same intelligence that we have.
There'll be a firefight.
How far
No, we're going to
away?
get there first. We'll get there first.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, we're in a Chinook and they're in a Hilux.
Sorry. Tom, did you have a question?
He's dying at the moment.
Okay. Right. So it crosses a bridge, and it actually crosses this bridge here. So it heads north a bit and then crosses the bridge here, heads out on this road here, and then does some backtracking in alleyways and ends up. This road actually continues. It's not shown on this map, but this road here continues east. And that is a road that will, you are quite correct, lead eventually, there's some complications with that, to the Accra camp. Okay? The complication is that the front line between the Daesh forces and the Peshmerga forces is that is along that road, crosses that road. So at some point they're going to come to the end of Daesh territory. That front line has been fairly static for a while because the Peshmerga forces essentially secured positions and then have been gradually trying to help working with the Iraqi forces to trying to encircle Mosul. Okay. Do you wish to do anything while this is developing and they're following this route and driving? Tom, Bruce, anything you wish to do?
No. I'm kind of interested in which way are they heading?
East. They head onto a road that will eventually, if they can pass across the front line, that will lead to where the refugee camp is located roughly.
So how long do we think it's going to take them to get to the camp if they took that route and sort of did a reasonable speed?
If there wasn't the problem of crossing the front lines,
let's assume that they figured a way to do that.
Yeah. Then they would be able to drive it in a reasonable period of time, but nothing like as quickly as a helicopter is going to get your guys there.
It's still.
I just think we need to notify.
I'd still like to get an ETA because then we can at least tell our folks and they can tell the people at the camp.
Okay. Right. So your guys should be getting to the camp, if everything goes correctly, by about 12:30. Okay. These guys probably more like 2-3 o'clock, depending on how they're getting across. It's not a vast distance. It's only about, from memory, it's only about 80 kilometers. but they've spent a chunk of time. Where's Gorkan's report? This is on there. Yeah, 80 kilometers northeast of Mosul. It would they would, as I say, it's all a question of how long it takes them to cross the front lines. Just to say, by the way, I mean they spend quite a lot of time wending their way through traffic in Mosul. That delays them a very significant amount of time. I should make more of that actually, because Mosul by this stage is getting quite chaotic. There's a lot of refugees here. There's lots of people milling around. At one point they're delayed because some kind of stoning of a woman is going on. It's captured on the footage from the drone, but the brutality of the Islamic State is sort of captured as there. Some woman is being put to death for something by stoning, so it takes them quite a while to wend their way through. But once they're clear of Mosul, your estimate is that they should arrive at least an hour and a half, maybe 2.5 hours after your guys arrive.
Okay, no problem. Keep the drone following them, but actually, whilst these guys are hopefully still in the air, get in touch with them.
Okay, so who are you contacting?
I'm going to get in touch with Hawk, actually.
Okay.
Because the others are going to be likely to be busy prepping more.
Okay. And
so ring.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can gloss over. You essentially update, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So, is there any response from you four in the helicopter as to this news?
I pass on this news to everybody whilst Farmer's on the phone. Looks like our friends are gonna.
If they can update us with the ETA.
Yeah, I'm assuming Farmer tells us with the ETAs, so we're a good.
Might want to keep an eye out.
2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
2 to 3 hours. I think actually this might be a good opportunity potentially to talk with them. Andy, can I have? I think we discussed this before about burner phones.
Mm-hmm.
Can Hawk have her burner phone that she's got? How easy is that to track if, like, don't know B doesn't know the technology of it.
What, track the location of the SIM card?
Or if I gave them the number for the mobile, could they track the signal to the phone?
And the location, absolutely yes.
Yeah, they can triangulate a cellular signal.
So even if I don't pick it up,
if it's the moment it is connected to the network. So if you remove the SIM card and the battery, it's not triangulated. But the moment you actually turn it on to make a call, that's why. That's why you if you wanted to do that, you probably would go somewhere out of Kirkuk Air Base and do it.
Also, it does take time. It's not like an instantaneous, even if they've got the number, etc. It will still take time for them to triangulate.
That's true.
Yeah, but like I'm just thinking about a way to figure this out to give them a way to contact. So we can have a conversation.
Just so they can triangulate it to essentially what the information they can get is what cellular mast it is connected to. So they'll know it's in the radius of that, and they'll know when it did it. And even though you may have turned it on, made a phone call, turned it off again, they'll be able to trace. Someone competent with computers could trace down and find out when that phone attached and to what mast.
Okay, is there a way of doing a phone call to them completely discreetly using computer jiggery pokery?
Yes, you can attempt to do something with a compute. What's the skill called? Is it computer science? I can't remember what it's called. The computer.
There is a computer science.
Yeah, the computer science skill to basically try and disguise your location.
There's actually a couple mundane ways you can do it too.
Yeah.
With VPNs and a few other tricks and such.
Okay. So
there are websites you can use to call phones from the internet.
Here's my idea. We take Gorkan and we leave them a letter with a number on it and a time to call us at this refugee. We leave, and when they turn up, they get given this letter, and then we see if we can have a conversation with them.
I like that plan.
Do we think do we think that's a good idea? Okay.
Yeah.
So, during our journey, we'll try and come up with a way to do this so it's completely untraceable as much as we can. So that when we arrive, it's literally like, here's a letter. There's going to be some people turning up to this guy. I want you to give it to them.
Right.
And then maybe pay them to not tell them anything about us.
Okay. I think the appropriate person to set this up for you is Agent Farmer. Can you give me a computer science check? Well, sorry, what is your computer science skill?
I believe it's 60.
Give me a check.
Yeah, 60.
Give me a check.
Flat?
Yeah, flat.
If he's on the phone, can I help him? I'm trained in science. I've got 50.
Okay, yeah, you can give a plus 20 for assistance.
Okay.
Okay.
Jesus. I'm on the bad rolls tonight. That's it. I'm done. I'm not going to roll anything else for the rest of the night.
Right. Okay. You set something up. I should have probably had that roll in secret.
Yeah.
Right.
We're going to go ahead with the plan because.
Yeah. But you, several of you would know a basic level of security, if that fails, is not to be in your base when you make that phone call, to be some other location.
I think that's a given. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And you lot carry on flying now. At about the same time that you are landing and are met by a Peshmerga officer who provides you with a vehicle with a driver, a proper yeah, I think it is actually a Humvee with driver. At about the same time as that, Farmer and Jones. I mean, you're the footage has got a little boring. It's a vehicle going along, wending its way gradually through the horror story that is Mosul, and then it's got out onto a road, and then it started driving out. And as it gets quite close to the front line, though, it gets interesting because it turns off the road and heads north on some other paths, and then it pulls up to a building. One of the men in the back jumps out, goes open and opens what must be some kind of garage or shed or something, and they drive the vehicle in there. And this is really quite close to the front line. Okay, and then but the front line here is all a bit erratic and so on, and it's not like trenches and barbed wire. It's sort of, there's encampments in various places, and after about 15 minutes, 4 very different looking men come out of the building and continue heading east. And it seems they know the path they're taking, because they seem to be. It's not a straight route. They're
on foot, right?
Yeah, on foot. Yeah, moving on foot, and they travel various various different directions, but clearly navigating them on a route they clearly know. Now these 4 men now are they're dressed in far more uniform, plain sort of dark green combats, fatigues, with webbing and so on, and still AKs, but webbing, and but they're also now wearing what are clearly US military issue helmets, and for certainly Agent Khar and probably several others, they look like they now look like Peshmerga Special Forces.
Would I know that, considering what I do?
Yes. Yeah. You can between you can definitely identify that as Peshmerga Special Forces, and that's what they kind of look like. And they walk probably for a couple of kilometers, and it does seem they seem to know a route that seems to avoid contact with anyone. Yeah. And you can see at one point Steward widens out the angle, and you can see a roadblock down on a couple of roadblocks down on the main road where there's various Daesh and Peshmerga forces set up a sort of about a kilometre apart, and various other positions on wide angles. But then she zooms back in, and these 4 men are just working their way around, and they're clearly, the way they're moving, they're very military proficient, all 4 of them. And they then cross to eventually end up at another nondescript building, which they enter, and about 2 minutes later a door opens and a new vehicle drives out. It's another Hilux, this time still white, actually still white. It's not quite as battered though, and once again 2 in the cab, 2 on the front, sorry, 2 on the bed at the back, and they start driving off, looping round and then coming sort of back onto the road they'd been on, but now in the rear area of the Peshmerga front line, and start heading towards the camp. Okay.
Hey, can I drop a pin on both of those buildings, please?
Absolutely.
So we know exactly where they're from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They then they continue on. Okay. Now back to the to your.
Before you jump over, I'm now making another call to Hawk, etc., depending where they are on their timeline, to tell them all of that.
Okay. You guys are driving towards Accra camp, and you are probably just coming in sight of it when, Hawk, you get this call and get that update. Okay.
So they're dressed as Peshmerga forces.
Yes. Now, slight complication. Because he likes to chat to you, it's very clear that the Peshmerga officer has been very helpful and's given you a driver who speaks English. It's bad English, but he speaks some English. So it's rather awkward to have a full update conversation in the vehicle.
What's his native language?
He's Kurdish.
Okay. I'll address him in his own language and speak fluently to him.
Yep. He's delighted to meet someone, an American, because he's assumed you're American, who speaks Kurdish, and he's very, very friendly, and with all your...
I'll express to him how embarrassed I am that so many Americans don't learn the language.
Yeah.
I shall echo that as well, also in Kurdish.
Okay, he's really.
I'm going to use this distraction to have the
conversation. Just sort of butter him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't require dice rolls. Your buttering up persuasion skill is absolutely fine too.
Ridiculous.
CIA schmooze.
I mean, he's clearly. I mean, he's just a regular soldier, but he's clearly got some brains about him, because he's clearly fascinated by what you are, because as a guy in a suit, a woman in plain clothes but armed, and two men who are in military gear and armed but without any rank insignia or unit insignia. So he's fascinated.
That's supposed to be very exciting for him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he's
like
really excited. He's really excited, and
I get to drive a black bag team around. This is awesome.
He's very excited, and
I'm excited for him.
Anyone who, I mean, all of you can tell, even those who don't speak any Kurdish, he clearly wants to ask loads of questions and he's fascinated, but is good enough host to refrain from asking.
I'll try and steer the conversation away from that sort of thing, to talking about other stuff that's happening around here. And
okay,
does his interest seem genuine and?
Oh, I love it when the players get paranoid. Give me a human check, please.
Well,
hey,
got
I'm
the
also
information
fluent
somehow.
in Kurdish.
Sorry, Hansek. B, do you speak Kurdish?
Kurdish, I do. I speak at 40.
That's enough. So you can have a full human check. Agent Pink, what do you speak Kurdish?
Yeah, I speak Kurdish, Arabic.
Yeah, what's your Kurdish? Say, what's your Kurdish skill?
My Kurdish is 40.
Yep. So you can have a human check as well then.
Okay.
Marc, Chris, Sandman and Khar, are you worrying as well?
Only in the normal levels.
Any modifier to the human levels. Check?
No modifier. No modifier.
Okay. All right. Well.
Okay. Agent Pink, you're uncertain, but you may tick your human skill.
Awesome.
Agent Hawk, you're convinced by him. He does seem genuine on the level. Absolutely.
All right.
Well, it's my job to be suspicious anyway. I'm one of the two menacing bodyguards with guns.
Yeah. Okay. And
oh no.
I don't believe a word he's saying.
Yeah.
The two bodyguards are looking at this guy like, should we shoot him?
Looks like he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah. Right. And you arrive, and this is all. You get this
no one
call.
Should be happy to see the CIA.
Yeah. You arrive at the camp and park up outside the camp, and you've got the photograph of the guy, and you are escorted by a couple of a squad of 4 Peshmerga soldiers, and these are just regular soldiers, and certainly Agent Khar, you have definitely encountered Peshmerga. Actually, probably all but Hawk of you have encountered Peshmerga forces. These are clearly second-rate troops guarding the camp. They're not frontline troops. There's a mix of younger boys who would be probably too young to fight in a Western army, and older men, and possibly you see a few are sort of limping around, a bit lame, recovering from wounds, things like that. So it's not a frontline unit guarding this, but 4 men. One of them's a teenager, but 4 men with an NCO in charge escort you into the camp. Okay. Agent Khar, once again, your persuasion skills and stuff, they're buying this completely. No dice rolls needed. And they're expecting you. You're fitting what they're expecting, and they escort you. But they say, we haven't. One of the men says, we haven't alerted this man, Harkin McGee, that that the people are looking for him. So we'll need to find him. But I know which tent he is assigned, and they lead you that. But
okay, jack it off, scruff myself up so I don't stand out quite so much. I still stand out quite a lot, and go around and start trying to find him.
Okay.
Having said that, I think some of the others might be better at that than me.
Well, so you're wandering around as a group, unless you wish to split off. But
no, we're not splitting up. Your bodyguards will politely suggest you stay with us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, we'll stay together.
Sorry, Agent
Sandman, unless you had something else you wanted to do.
Well, I was just thinking, if he gets a win that we're coming for him, I don't think he would, but you never know. He starts to make a run. Do we want to take a flank position?
One of the two shooters could definitely take a flank position, and like one of us can stick with the two eggheads.
Don't mind. I don't mind sticking with them if you want to do it.
All right, sure. Yeah, I'll move to kind of flank around.
And if we got him, I'll just give you a call and come back in.
You because you're splitting off, the Peshmerga NCO assigns 2 of his 4 men to go with you. So you get the feeling that wandering around. I mean, it's the middle of the day. It's it's not an incredibly dangerous situation, but that you're getting menacing looks. Yeah. Clearly, you're an American, the way you're dressed, and you're also clearly an American who probably has ancestry in the Middle East, and so that's definitely something that they that appears to gain some kind of dislike from some of the people. But
I've received this kind of treatment before.
I did say I was disguising myself before I came, so
yeah, certainly.
Really specify, but I possibly don't look quite like myself as I usually do.
Okay, what is your disguise skill?
My disguise is 60.
Okay, we'll make a check against that should it become necessary, and just to figure out how successful your disguise has been. But you flank. So can I have a search roll from so I give a search roll from Pink, Agent Pink, and then who is as such leading the search from the other 3 of you?
Any modifier to the search roll?
No modifier.
Probably not me.
No, I'm quite good at searching. It's kind of a go-to thing that I'll do.
I failed.
I have a search of 57.
Ticking search.
Okay.
Sandman, I think. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
well,
Sandman,
to be honest, it's 52, but I mean, it's just eyes peeled, isn't it? And
yeah.
I mean, I don't see there's any sort of.
Okay. Well, okay. So Sandman, give me a search check then, please. You can have plus 20 because you've got there's a team of you working. Okay.
58.
Yeah.
All good.
And Pink, you don't spot him, but after a little while, Sandman, you do. He's quite a sullen man, sitting on his own, sort of on a rug outside a tent, and basically being ignored by most of the people here. And the bits of video you've seen of him, firstly on the found video, but then also, I mean, he's got a social media profile, so you've seen bits and pieces from there as well. He's a very Gorkhan was very much a very brash, quite arrogant, very confident young man. The figure that you spot is definitely does look like the man from the video, but he looks broken, and he's
not surprising.
Yeah, and he's sat there. Okay, and Pink, you don't spot him, but you spot that they have clearly spotted someone, and so you all converge. And despite your concerns of him spotting you and trying to do a runner, he sort of looks up at you as you approach, and looks hopefully at Agent Khar and Agent Hawk, because you're the two who aren't dressed in sort of military gear, that you are armed. That actually, for Khar, your weapon is hidden, not visibly. Yeah. And he says, have the authorities, have they accepted that I am who I am, and I can go home?
Harkham McGee, yes?
Yes, that's me. And
yes,
a little sort of spark of life seems to come into him, and he stands up and offers to shake your hand.
Shake his hand. And
Pink will be struggling not to like bust out laughing because he knows what's actually in store for this man.
Yeah. Yes, that's here to transfer you immediately. Play into his assumption that that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not actually directly lying.
Okay. He says, so I can come with you now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Gather your things.
I don't have any.
Okay. Then gather nothing and follow me.
That's even better.
And he follows you as you lead him off.
If you want to live, come with us.
Come with us if you want to live.
Come with me if you want to live.
Okay.
Can I be writing this note as we're?
Yep, certainly.
Yeah, do that.
The time that we left was, you said 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock?
Sorry, you started organising things about 10. You had a helicopter by about 10:30ish, 10:45. You were in the air.
It takes us 2 hours to get here.
Yeah.
And they left 30 minutes after us, and it's going to take them roughly 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
At the most to get there. So I write this note and put SV-8, a phone number, and then 10 p.m.
Okay.
And then I'm not going to sign it.
Okay.
I have an idea.
I am going to put "Let's talk."
Okay.
No, that's it.
And then I've got a key question.
Yeah.
What language are you writing it in?
I was just saying, I think it's going to be in Arabic.
Okay.
But because no, it's going to be in Arabic. I don't want to give away anything that I don't need to. I'm just going to put it in Arabic.
I'll explain to the guy in charge here that unfortunately, owing to an administrative cock-up, another team might have been dispatched. I'm not sure they've been recalled yet. So, if you could hand this envelope across to them when they arrive.
And you're giving it to the
feeling it.
Yeah. And you're giving it to the NCO.
Whoever's in charge, whoever will receive.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Can I just quickly chat with Agent Khar? I'm assuming the other two could probably overhear this as well. I just very quickly want to take it aside and go.
I was absolutely going to suggest that we frame it as another American team that just didn't get the memo and was on their way for nothing.
I was thinking, I'm going to ask Khar because of his experience in the area, if one, it's appropriate, and two, if it's worth doing, somehow convincing them or paying them off potentially to not give any description of who we are to these people. But I don't know how that would come across because obviously they are coming along as Peshmerga forces, and that's kind of, do you know what I mean?
What would I think with that scene? We're putting this up completely cleanly with no one being suspicious of that whatsoever. If we start talking about
that's odd because you've just implied that they're allied to you.
Yeah.
Okay, forget that. We'll just hand the thing over and hope that our descriptions aren't given too detailed.
Gorkan.
Well, let's just think for a moment. I'm in a disguise anyway. You presumably are wearing fairly heavily covering.
No, just head covering, not face.
Just a head.
And sorry, you can have been wearing face, but that would be notable for doing it around here.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I would think that my identity would have had to be verified by the female officers or whatever.
No,
That's usually the case.
No, here, no.
Is it not?
No, Kurdistan is much more. I mean, as I mean, they have.
No, what I mean is like someone coming in with face coverings, like complete.
Oh,
like
sorry,
full,
yeah.
And then usually they go off to the side, verify that this person is who they say they are, and they come back. That's how it works in airports. So.
Yeah. They're as far as the Peshmerga military are concerned, you're a woman an American woman working for the CIA, so they just don't ask any questions at all.
I don't think my face is covered. I think I'm just wearing a headscarf.
Yeah, and the other two have been hanging around in the background, so they shouldn't get too good a description of us anyway. The only question, I suppose, is: was there or is there any CCTV around here?
Absolutely not.
Right, fine. In which otherwise you might have wanted to do something about that, but good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can
The
we
extent
pop them on the flight then?
Yeah. So the extent of any photography stuff is there's clearly some ability to take photographs because that's what was taken of Gorkhan, but it's nothing more than a handheld camera somewhere. Must be somewhere on the base. That's it. Okay.
Good. Okay.
Right. Gorkhan seems a little bit. Sorry, Harkan, as he insists on calling himself. He seems a little bit confused by the presence of two armed Americans, but doesn't seem to raise it as a question.
Be reassuring. I mean, again, this is sort of my thing, isn't it? Be reassuring. Keep him talking. Don't let him. Don't
let him dwell on the fact that things aren't quite right.
Yeah, don't let him dwell on that at all.
Your persuasion.
Ask him about. My persuade
73.
is
73.
Yeah, quite
okay.
good.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, B. What else can you say?
I was going to keep using his given name that he's given us, the Harkan McGee. But I have special training in victim support under psychotherapy, and I'm wondering whether there's any. Perhaps do a sort of once we're in the car, sort of heading towards the thing, sort of like, have they been treating you well? What led you to being in the camp? This sort of stuff. Just general questions, that not pressing questions, just as a well-being check on this person to keep him.
Don't worry about
calm.
this guy with a gun. He's just...
Yeah, don't worry about the guy with the gun. It's fine.
Okay.
Don't worry about that helicopter we're about to get in.
Well,
yeah, he might bat an eyelid when we get into a Chinook, but
yeah. Right. So he is still spouting a story, and I think anyone with a half decent human score knows he's lying.
Okay, right. We established he's not completely delusional.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, it does help that we've seen where he's been.
Yeah, but he is sticking to the story he told the Peshmerga, that he's a Western aid worker, an Australian citizen of mixed Turkish and Scottish heritage, and he is a Western aid worker who was captured by Daesh, but spared execution as a Muslim, but was used as forced labour. He sticks to that story, and says that, I mean, he surrendered to Peshmerga forces and so on, but the reports were that the Peshmerga didn't believe this in the slightest, and thought that he was possibly a Daesh foreign fighter who had simply bottled it and run away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good instincts, those Peshmerga.
Yeah. And he sticks to this story for the present moment, and so he tells you that the guards in the camp were nice, but there are some very scary men in that camp, because there are some Daesh soldiers who've been captured. The camp seems to be it's both got Daesh fighters who have been captured and people they suspect of being Daesh fighters. So he was quite terrified in there. And there have been a number of beatings and stabbings and people. It's quite a dangerous place. So he's delighted to be out of it, and hopefully going home to Australia. And if there's any information that he can give about what he saw in Mosul, he's very happy. But as I said, he was a Western aid worker.
Well, give him a Snickers bar and a bottle of water. Make him feel at home.
He's delighted to have those. Okay.
I hope he's not allergic to peanuts. Dies before he gets there.
He might get a bit suspicious when we put him on the back of a helicopter.
Right.
And then,
Yeah. Well, that's what Pink and says. Yeah, I've got an EpiPen. Right. It's all good.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, I've got an EpiPen. We're good. I've got a trauma kit. I'm fully prepared for this situation.
Right.
Pink and Sandman will sort out the point where we
I
get
might make the application of the EpiPen slightly more painful than it needs to be, but
What, in the eye?
Right. He
still might work.
He seems when you drive into the airport, he's surprised, and then when he's taken to a waiting Chinook that has its rotors already going, ready for immediate dust off, and you're dropped off by a really delighted
a very happy Peshmerga soldier. The world's happiest Peshmerga soldier.
Yep.
Excellent. Absolutely commend the driver to his commanding officer when you get back.
He's great.
He's very pleased, and the officer is also pleased that his soldiers provided good service. And the officer does have a good stare at Gorkan, but but doesn't ask any questions. But Gorkan / Harkan is sort of looking around a bit confused as to sort of what
I'm about to do something very rude.
Yeah, it's sort of like
I'm going to turn to Gorkan and I'm going to surprise, you've been blackbagged.
So
and then I'm going to grab him and start driving him.
He looks. You start sort of escorting him. He doesn't actually resist at all. He looks more confused. That he doesn't resist. He's just confused as to what's going on. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'm sure it's
give him a wrist lock on the way onto the helicopter.
So a lot of people talk at the same time. So, Mark, what were you going to
go? No, it's all right. Go, Chris.
Usually we're ferrying a dozen or a couple of dozen people at the same time. Just today you're the only one.
Okay, he buys that. And he sits down there. He's eating his Snickers, but he's still got half a bottle of water, and he's looking around the helicopter. Clearly, he's never been in a helicopter. It's almost a bit of a childlike response. He's looking around like a child fascinated by. I mean, you lot have all travelled in Chinooks all the time, and it's slightly dull, and you strap him in and stuff like that, and he just is like a fascinated big kid. Okay, and then
I've seen Chinooks in many states in my career as a pararescue operator.
Yes, and it takes off. The Chinook takes off and starts flying you back to Kirkuk Air Base and your base. Okay, now just flipping back to Farmer and Jones. Right, you you watch on the footage as on the feed from the drone as these 4 men in their vehicle, these 4 apparently Peshmerga special forces, drive through, and they come to a couple of checkpoints, appear to show some sort of identification and just wave through, and then you follow them, and probably half an hour after they left the helicopter, so left the camp, they arrive. They've actually made quite good time, and they arrive and start having a conversation with the NCO in charge of the gate, who does a bit of a sort of aha moment and produces a letter and gives it to them. And the one who seems to be in charge. Sorry, one thing I forgot to say. Actually, would you be able to see that? No, you wouldn't be able to see that. Sorry, no, forget it. One of them, the one who's given the letter, sort of seems to sort of open it, nod at the NCO, and then walk back and consult with the. He was actually sort of the passenger in the cab, and he goes back and consults with the driver, and you can see that the two men on the back are leaning over and joining in, and they one of them gets out a phone and is about to make a call when another one stops them, and they then turn around and start driving backwards. Start driving back the route they've come. And over the next hour and a half, couple of hours, you spot them almost retrace their steps. They drive back through checkpoints to the building, leave the Peshmerga vehicle, cross the front lines, looking like Peshmerga special forces, change into get to a building, change back into looking like Daesh troops, and then drive back to the warehouse in looking like Daesh forces in the white battered Toyota Hilux. Okay.
Probably be back to see the.
Second, sorry.
We'd probably be back to see the end of that.
Very true. Very true. You are. Now, before you land, however, how is Gorkan arriving at Kirkuk Air Base? Is he arriving with a looking like behaving like a tourist and a big school kid looking round? Or
probably yes. What was the alternative? Sorry, or a prisoner?
Yeah, I mean, are you concerned with him seeing where your base is?
I've got the black opaque sack ready. Let's give the word.
I think that maybe I like to think that we probably discussed this before we got him on the.
Yeah, probably.
I thought we were picking up a prisoner anyway, so I'd assumed we were bringing him in as a prisoner. And now we're on. Well. Yeah, now we're on the helicopter, and I'm assuming that the pilot is one of the base soldiers from where we're from. When we're sort of mid-flight, I think either me or Khar should probably broach this. Basically, pop the bubble of we know you're not McGee.
Let's role play through this.
I was kind of hoping to run through this in some more detail, maybe in a slightly more subtle way. Maybe I'll even start on the helicopter. What I would want to do, and I mean, what I was thinking of doing was basically working his way backward, pick apart anything that I know is a lie, until we start to get to the truth of it, and begin use that as a lever for the interrogation rather than bringing him as a prisoner. Obviously, he'll figure out that we've twigged him after a while, but as far as we can get information from him,
right?
I don't think we should put out our stuff on the because of the pilot might overhear.
Well, no. That a Chinook helicopter is massive.
Yeah, Chinooks are huge. They use Chinooks to haul tanks and jeeps around.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also very loud in there. Most of you wearing headphones. So
right.
It's got a dual main rotor system. It's one of the loudest helicopters in our inventory.
And actually, there's a pilot and a co-pilot, but there's also a crew chief. The person who's more likely to be closer to you to potentially hear something is the crew chief. But he takes one look at. Would there be something else?
And also, if we're speaking on the helicopter's intercom, then anyone can switch into it any time, and we wouldn't know about it. So, actually, maybe it's a bad idea. Yeah, good point.
Okay, so I think it's hard to start debriefing him here because it would be yelled conversations. The crew chief, by the way, takes one look at you, appears to figure out you're a CIA team, and then sits at the other end of the helicopter so that he's not compromised at all.
I just give him a knowing look, like, yeah, I get you, brother.
Right. So back to my original question: is he arriving sort of as a tourist, or is he being cuffed and cuffed and hooked?
We're going to have to breach fact on the way. That unfortunately we understand that. I'll start referring to him by his on the intercom by his correct name, and then tell him that unfortunately, under circumstances, you're going to need to ask you a few questions before we can be transferring you at a location. And unfortunately, we can't allow you to see it. So, could you put this hood on, please?
Give me a persuasion check. Actually,
is that possible?
You need to.
Oh,
I think Sandman's sitting either side of him, like.
Yeah. I can't. I got a backup. It's like, please don't put it on. Please fight this.
It's a
he
failure.
Doesn't put it on. I'm amazingly good at failing persuasion.
Well, at least you can tick your persuade now.
I don't think I've made a persuasion skill yet.
Yes,
because I haven't succeeded a skill check at all today. So
no, I did succeed actually getting us to the house in the first place. Actually, that did work out.
Right. So he resists slightly, but you end up zip tying his hands and
signal to the other two to come
and bagging him. Yeah, and so he's got a hood on and his hands secured. That also means that his identity is concealed from anyone else on the base. The only people that actually probably saw him is the crew chief, because the pilot and co-pilot probably wouldn't have seen him because they would have been in the cockpit.
Now is when I tell him, surprise, you're being black bagged.
Okay. He seems scared.
Just shakes her head.
I gotta get my phone where I can get it.
He
seems stayed sane in this business.
He seems quite scared, but not he's not sort of collapsing in terror like that. Okay.
Oh, he's hysterical.
Yeah. Okay. And you then
as in our interrogator's method.
Yeah. Okay. You then are able where you land, you can almost just frog march him into your compound. That does draw a couple of bits of attention from people because you've clearly got a prisoner, but you're not the first people to arrive here with prisoners, and so there's people glancing over, but no one really paying attention.
Well, and also they probably just assume it's part of our HVT snatch and grab operation.
Exactly.
So they're just like, oh, okay, they're like one step closer, or they got the guy that they were after.
Yeah.
Sweat him or something.
Yeah. So
whatever. It's a Tuesday.
It all fits with your cover. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Right. Then. Sorry. Move that over to there.
Is anybody else really tempted to put him in the same lock container as the Amphora? And just
I'm not that cool. I do want to actually get some information out of him.
Right.
No, that's true. Yeah. Let's not do it.
Before we go to that now. Bruce, you were Agent Jones. You were examining the Winds of Adad to try and find weaknesses about the subject of the Father of War. Yes. can you give me an so it's now I forgot the language this is in. This one is
Arcadian, wasn't it?
Is this the Arcadian?
Arcadian.
So your choice of an Arcadian check or a archaeology check, whichever you prefer.
My archaeology is significantly higher.
Give me an archaeology check then, please.
That's critical success.
A critical, right.
Apparently patience is matching.
Sorry, so... Right, so... You get both of these. Okay. So the first, the Throne of Blood, is all about a bronze amphora called the Throne of Blood that they carry around the battlefield. Okay. And then the other one talks about the fall of the Father of War and the Sons of War. Okay. But you gain one other critical piece of information. It appears that you got a critical. One thing that is a weakness is the Father of War does not come out in daylight. The sun is said to be anathema to the Father of War. Okay. We
know the video when he originally came out was taken. That was still light outside, but it was dark inside.
Yes.
So it's not a time frame; it's an actual daylight.
Yes.
Like
the present. Yeah. So yeah. Yep. And
it's quite specific in that document, isn't it? It says place somewhere where the roof can be withdrawn.
Yeah. And
we need a skylight.
And the other thing is not so much a weakness of him; it's a protection against his power to shred with his obsidian shards. They are said to be blocked by the strongest of armor, and in the context, that's probably metal armor.
Were they wearing, in the video, were they wearing body armor?
No. No, they weren't.
Yeah, most of the foreign fighters.
Sorry, that's not completely true. That's not completely true. Two of the leader and the one who was
the rich kid with the blinged M4.
Yeah, they both had body armor.
Yeah, yes. They had plate carriers, if I recall.
But this sort of body armor is of limited value against blades, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you have like hard plates, it's still good, but yeah, otherwise it's.
But also thousands of flying intelligent shards of obsidian. However, yes, I can see the point that chainmail or plate mail might be equivalent.
Not chain plate.
Yeah, plate.
So the other thing is modern armor doesn't actually cover as much as plate harnesses. Because
plate harness
we put more emphasis on mobility.
Yeah.
So you're probably looking with that timeline a brigandine or coat of plates, which gives you a much higher protection rating and still decent mobility.
Yeah, that's a balance.
Are we going to have to contact a bunch of LARPers to be able to go and deal
with
this?
Actually, it'd be more likely to contact HEMA guys than LARPers.
Yeah, true. stuff.
No,
yeah.
no, you wouldn't need it to be as strong, so you go with the LARP stuff. So it's still like
cheaper.
2 mil steel.
Yeah,
it should be 2 mil steel, so 3
And
mil
it looks
steel.
pretty.
Exactly. You know, you can have all that stuff and everything. Or what you do.
It's all about the aesthetic.
If you want to get in touch with the Bowhut people, don't use Israel because they just went in with multiple gambesons and no plate, and they kicked arse and won the world championships because they just wore gambesons.
Right.
Gambeson is not to be underestimated as medieval armor.
Oh no, gambesons are great, but they're not.
Yeah.
In fact, if you do what the South Americans did and soak them in salt water, they become even better.
Sorry for the distraction there.
I think this is slightly on a right.
Slight digression.
Okay, because of the critical, you've also found another ritual. Or rather, part of a ritual. Because it is incomplete. Tablets are missing. Okay, and is a ritual called the closing of the breach.
Okay.
Sounds like what we need.
How many sacrifices does it need?
That's probably on the other bits of tablet that they're missing.
Oh.
Do we have any volunteers?
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's
Got a black sack over his head.
summoning spell, but
and you need exactly, and then it just cuts off.
I see a trip to the United Kingdom in my future to find the missing tablet.
I was about to say, it does sound like you're going to have to go to London to meet that creepy lady.
And get the missing part of the recipe.
Is it like just the last word that's missing?
No, it's definitely some serious gaps, but you've got the starting one telling you what it is, what it's called.
Yeah, we don't know how many cups of sugar go into the Elder Sign, but
right. Can you please give me a sand check as well, please?
Wibble wibble.
I won. Oh, what a kick in the teeth.
Right. You lose 1 point of sand. And you gain 1 point of unnatural.
Oh. It's a trade worth making as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Yeah, you can get sand back.
Yeah.
Though technically your maximum sand is now 1 lower.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. There's always that trade-off.
It's like the Medic video. Sand grows back. No, it doesn't.
Right.
That means I can technically succeed on an unnatural roll, right?
Yes.
You now have a measurable possibility of success.
If your unnatural is 1, that's a crit failure.
No, because I think 0, 1 is always
0, 1 is a crit failure.
Sorry?
Or crit success.
No, crit success.
Yeah, 100's crit fail.
No.
No.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. Yeah, you're correct.
No, yeah, it's because it goes on doubles.
Yes.
It goes on doubles as the crits.
Yeah. It goes on doubles, but it 1 and 100 are also a fumble and a critical.
Yeah.
I don't.
Sorry, I got it the wrong way around.
Yes, that's right. Okay, right.
Cool.
Right. There's still more you can read in here, though. Just to be clear, there's still more stuff in this tablet. Some more information you can gather from it. You've not finished it.
Okay.
Now, remind me. Sorry, I keep forgetting. Agent Farmer, what were you? You were doing a computer check to. What were you trying to do?
I
again?
was checking more police incidences, see if there's any more things that we can start tracking to try and get a location.
Right. What's your computer science skill?
60.
Right. Can you give me a computer science check, please?
Yep.
Unfortunately, this is
flat.
Yeah, because other people, there's no one around to give you an assist on this. This is what you're doing during the day.
No problem.
God Almighty, you are.
I told you, I shouldn't be rolling.
Right. But at least you can tick it.
Check.
Okay.
It was already ticked.
Andy.
It was already ticked.
Oh, is it? Andy, just as a quick question about the tick thing, if you help somebody, do you also get the tick?
No.
If they failed?
No.
I just check it.
No, it's not that generous a system.
Sucks.
Quick, make sure that there's 2 of us on every task so that we're getting maximum stat growth benefits.
Right. Okay. So you have Gorkan back at base. What do you wish to do with him?
First we do is sort about some sort of accommodation. So we have to talk to someone about that, aren't we? Actually, no.
No, you've got three. You've got 3. What's the proper phrase? The cargo bits attached to the building.
Shipping containers.
Shipping containers. That's what I mean. 3 shipping containers, and one is set up as a storage for your gear. So that's full of weapons and stuff like that. You've got another one that's basically got the amphora in it, and then the third was set up as a lab, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was. But I can move my lab stuff out to turn that into a holding cell just for the moment.
Okay. To be honest, it's big enough that you can go and put a wall in the end bit with a door and create a sort of
probably something like the cages that they have for temporary holding at airports.
Yeah. Is there a meanwhile for a more permanent solution, other facilities on base that we could make use of?
Well, I imagine we can ship him after we're done interrogating him here. We're just going to send him off to the colonel,
right?
And he's going to probably dump him off at some deep, dark Delta Green hole.
We
better get cracking with interrogating this guy. Okay.
But sorry, in answer to your question, Chris, yes, there are there's a secure brig on the base, but it's totally and utterly out of your control.
Yeah, okay, that's no good. So yeah, as you suggest, I think we're shipping back to
I should let the colonel know that we got him too.
Yeah.
So, right. Anyway, you have him. He's he bumps into a few things, whether that's deliberate or not, you can decide. As he's escorted into the holding cell that's being constructed. It's probably someone like Farmer's just done a bit of DIY with some metalwork to put a wall up and
make sure that it's good. Yeah, we make sure it's got adequate facilities. You know, it doesn't have to be luxury or anything like that, but make sure it's got minimum necessary.
Well, how are you making it like a cell with a that has a sort of...
Is he going to be there overnight?
I don't know. You tell me. I mean,
I think we should just put a cot in there and
a bunk.
That's it. That's all he needs. Then just a cot, and if he needs the toilet, then he can ask him, and someone will escort him.
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's all we need.
And once he's in there,
through my book of interrogation techniques, I'm not sure if sleep was in there. Just one moment.
Is he being?
What do you want to do with that?
Is he being left handcuffed? Is he being left hooded?
I think for now, until we start interrogating him, let him stew a bit. But I'm not the interrogation expert. That would be Khar, probably.
Would it be me or would it be Hawk?
It could well be both of you.
Yeah, it could be both. You can double. Yeah, you can be a team.
Has anyone got psychotherapy at any level? I'm looking at you, Hawk.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Excellent.
Not massive, but I've got 34 in it.
I fix bodies, not brains.
Right. So, well, all of you
happy to leave him with this.
So
sorry, happy to leave him in the in that cell for the moment, hooded and still tied up. We'll just plonk him down on the cot.
Interrogation area set up.
Yeah, just we can interrogate him in there really if you want to. But I think if we could all gather outside, have one of my webcams, because obviously you said that we could do it in the same space as the lab.
Yeah.
Have my webcam pointing at him in his thingy, and take the laptop into the main area that we're in, and we'll go have a conversation whilst keeping an eye on him about how we're going to tackle this, because there's two things of immediacy. We need to figure out what questions and how much we're going to reveal to him, what we're going to do with him afterwards, and then this conversation that we're possibly going to be having with SV-8.
Okay.
So
we are going to be revealing precisely nothing to him, as far as I'm concerned, as little as possible anyway.
I think
He's going to give information to us, not the other way around. What I want to do is, I just basically want to work backwards through timing, picking apart his. This is my strategy that I want to go with. Don't have to role play the whole thing through, because I couldn't do it probably. But I want to start with the present and work backwards, picking out the lies as it goes. If he sticks to it too much, we'll show him some other video, stopping when it before they all die, and then go back to the point where we're going backwards, and he can start telling us the truth about what he's been doing for the last few weeks.
Okay.
I think our priority, what we want to know, is what he's been doing for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yep.
We don't. Everyone agree?
Yeah. Yes, but I also want to get a proper description from him about what happened in that moment where everything keels over, and if he knows of the fates or what has happened to any of the other people. Obviously, he probably witnessed the skinning of the cameramen and etc.
Andy, you're going to have to remind me, how many survivors were there? There was him, there was a maid,
and that's it.
And that's it. Okay,
yeah.
So I think the fates of the others that we're pretty familiar with by now.
Okay, so right, based on the combination of your various skills, I don't think I require any checks. Just let me look at Hawk.
Can I play good cop?
Yeah,
because I feel like Khar's going to be more intimidating than I am with this quite harsh.
One thing.
All right, I'll put myself into my more intimidating mode. Then I was going to be fairly friendly about it, but okay, I won't be.
No. If I can play the other side of it, I just, from the description, you sounded like you were going to go really hot, go hard or go home, sort of.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's fine.
Okay.
I'm excited for that.
Right, so
And I'll do the thing that the police have asking the same questions, multiple times, and then picking out the inconsistencies in the answers and things like that. Basic
so
interrogation stuff.
He's initially quite resistant, and he starts saying, "Why are you calling me Gorkon? That's not who I am," and so on. But then when you show him the video, or just the start of the video, he crumples. Both of you could do this if you wish. Can you give me a psychotherapy roll, please?
Okay. I'm probably going to fail this, so that. Well.
Hey, you'll be part of good company in that.
I failed. I didn't fumble.
You can then therefore at least tick it.
Yeah.
Yeah, failed. God damn it.
Okay, so we'll leave that, the implications of that. Okay, he to summarize, so he once he's basically shown evidence that he can't dispute that he was there and who he is and so on, he crumples a bit and goes back to that terrified look of when you first saw him in the camp. Okay, and his hands shake a little bit and so on at points, and he's quite happy to talk about what he did after he ran away, and basically tells a story about how he escaped from the wait there. So right, he basically was able to work his way. He just wanted to get away and get out of Mosul because what he'd seen was terrifying, and he worked his way. He was trying to get to the Turkish border, and he appears to have gone on the wrong road because he wasn't heading north; he was heading northeast, and he was stopped and beaten a couple of times by Daesh patrols who thought he was deserting. And at one point he was taken back to a Daesh unit, but then he managed to get away from there and run away again. And somehow, and it sounds like it was luck rather than judgment, he got through the Daesh Peshmerga lines and managed to, but the moment he got to the Peshmerga lines, he then surrendered immediately. So he by luck he got through the Daesh lines and then he surrendered almost at the from the sounds of it on the road where you saw on the video of the opposing team, where the sort of the roadblocks that they bypassed. He stopped at. He seems to have got past the Daesh ones and then surrendered immediately at the Peshmerga one. And from the way he tells it, he was on his own, but he wasn't the only person being captured and surrendering at that point. And there seems to be a steady trickle of people trying to get out of Mosul. He was then taken to the camp, and the rest then fits with what you've been told about how he gave this story. It turns out he admits at one point Harkan McGee was a friend of his from school, so it is actually a real person that he's used, which is why he was able to supply quite a bit of details about the person. And people used to say they looked alike, so he was hoping that that when some pictures came back, it would of a passport photograph or something, it would fit.
Okay.
When you backtrack him to the he's really reluctant to talk about what happened.
Go over his experiences afterwards a couple of times before we circle back to it, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I don't know, there's something I don't know, does anyone else, so this is a more general question for sort of player to player, something we talk about maybe afterwards. Does anyone else feel that story has an awful lot of by chance, by fluke, he managed to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I managed to slip across Daesh lines. I mean, this guy doesn't seem exactly and yet he managed to achieve a series of feats, escaping twice from Daesh forces, crossing enemy lines, traversing, unequipped with anything, hundreds of miles of hostile terrain.
80 kilometers, but yeah. Well, sorry, not 80 kilometers. It's about.
It just seems to me that
McQueen, he ain't.
Yeah. So I want to go over that in a lot of detail, Andy, and backtracking over bits and pieces, trying to see if I can find any inconsistencies to that, in particular, any inconsistencies that might point to anything unusual happening.
Right. Just one clear thing. It's about 20 or 30 kilometers that he's gone outside of Mosul.
It's not quite that far.
But your point is valid. It's a significant distance. Sorry?
Still through the lines, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, still through the lines.
Right.
And still behind the lines in the places heavily patrolled by Daesh patrols. It just, like you say, this guy seems like Steve McQueen from what he's saying. And
right.
Love that, wouldn't you?
Can you give me, please? Now, what the hell check will this be?
It'll be either human or psychotherapy, I expect. I'm really regretting not taking psychotherapy right now. I don't know what it's for. I'm just guessing.
Yeah. It's human. Give me a human check, please.
Is that from both of us or one?
Crit.
Never mind.
Well, this is. You can give me a human check as well, actually, because this is what this is.
Do I need to?
Well, it's more whether you have.
Do it anyway, just if I get a failure, then I can.
Right. Okay. You're looking for a failure there, right? Okay.
Always learn.
Yeah.
Right.
I managed to mark it off.
Okay. So, Agent Hawk, you can't tell if he is telling the truth or lying.
My consideration is he might be telling us what he thinks is the truth.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
As you go backwards and forwards, he is absolutely convinced that he's telling the truth, and his story, the key points of it do not waver. He definitely has a consistent story.
Okay.
I think this guy is just flying by the seat of his pants. He's managed to
Possibly.
get that far. But I'm worried that there is bits. Well, not that I'm worried. I thought there might be parts of his memory that might be a little bit spotty or missing. Potentially where I don't know if this is kind of like a meta sus or a meta suspicion or something, but dealing with supernatural creatures and things like that, possession is kind of like one of the things in my mind of had he been possessed at some point just immediately afterwards. That's why I wanted to know exactly what happened afterwards to see if he actually remembers.
So
go over that next then.
Okay, so he is reluctant to talk about that. It seems to be that Khar is leading the conversation, so I want a persuasion check it from you. He is extremely resistant, so it's actually at -40. But okay,
and then roll of 18, I still do it.
No, so but it's actually minus, as I say, but essentially you're being assisted by Hawk, which gives you +20, so it would only be at -20, but you've succeeded even at -40. So okay, so yes, he's very reluctant, but after going around the houses a bit and building some rapport with him, even though you're doing the bad cop, he does get to a point where he's willing to talk about it. And what he describes is he describes a hideous scene where some sort of black cloud of shards came out of the amphora. It made words in the air, and he remembers the word kneel, and it then started just shredding the skin off people, and he immediately just turned and ran. Okay, and it chased him and someone else, and he's not even sure who it was also running. He remembers them being just a couple of paces behind him, and probably the only reason he escaped was that he saw. So it was that the person behind him was engulfed and started having their skin shredded off, and then they and as he was scrambling out of the sand, out of the swimming pool, he glanced backwards and he saw a cloud of these black shards in the sort of just in the doorway, the alcove of the pool, sorry, and a skinned body lying sort of half in, half out the door, where it must have fallen. Okay, and at that point he just carried on running. He says, I think I must have been screaming. I don't remember screaming, but my throat hurt afterwards. And the woman who was in the house, she came out as I was. She sort of came out the back door as I was running past. Clearly, I think having heard me scream, and she turned and went off to look, I think, what was going on. I don't really know. I left her behind and just carried on running. And I just went out of the compound and just ran as far as I could. And then when I couldn't run, I just walked along the road, taking me back to Mosul.
And how long was he in Mosul?
What, after the...
Yeah.
Right, so...
I'm thinking about a timeline here. It's been a couple of weeks, hasn't it?
Right.
I'm forgetting now. How long ago was it that event took place?
Yeah, I want to kind of, from what he says his route was as well, I want to see where the first incident in Mosul is, whether this black cloud was like following him or not, or whether it was just going random places.
Okay. Going through the dates you got, the Father of War was released during the day of the 23rd of March.
I need to write this down. Hold on.
Gorkon was captured, surrendered to Peshmerga troops on the 29th of March. He sorry, just let me check.
So what happened then? So it was released on the 23rd of March.
He was captured by Peshmerga troops, surrendered to Peshmerga troops on the 29th of March. Okay.
Right.
And he basically, his story is that he's been through several times, that he didn't stay in mostly, just his one idea was to go home, and the best way he could think of to go home was to go to Turkey, and so he made his way, what he thought, he was trying to find a northern road and thought it was best to cross a bridge. Probably it wasn't. He has no real knowledge of geography. He's tried to go north, he's gone northeast, and he's probably crossed the river when he didn't need to. And I think so his thought processes are flawed by ignorance rather than anything else. I'm just conscious of the time, and we had a bit of a hard stop.
Okay, let's do that then. That's good. I think we can start off next time with the phone call.
Yep.
Which phone call?
10 p.m.
Phone call later.
Oh, the 10 p.m. Sorry, because there's another phone call before that.
Yeah.
There's a phone call for Agent Jones.
Junior, where the hell have you
Creepy
been?
lady.
I'd like you to do a fifth film.
Junior!
And it's actually Colonel Gwyn on the phone.
Oh, your best mate.
Colonel?
Right. We might have a new person for you to...
No. He's talking to Agent Jones.
Dead body in the United Kingdom. Colonel?
Agent Jones. Who have you been speaking to? And why has this prompted a report that's come to my notice? And that's where we'll end it for the night.
Oh.
You got some splaining to do.
You have got some splaining to do.
Oh, no.
Okay. So
Way into a request to go in the United Kingdom tomorrow. So.
Yeah. I don't know, but can I?
Right. Okay. Let's let's finish there because I know people got a hard stop. So thank you for watching. Anyone who's watching, please, if you've enjoyed this, give us a like and all that sort of stuff, and tell your friends about it, etc. All that sort of stuff. We're having a lot of fun playing this. Hopefully people enjoy watching it, and there'll be another episode in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks very much, and goodbye.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Peace.